Sports.
In the previous 15 seasons, the Rangers and the Astros have played the Lone Star Series. The winner took home not only the Silver Boot, but also bragging rights for the season. This season, there's much more at stake. The winner not only takes home the trophy, but also the inside track to the American League West division title. With 9 more games between the two in-state rivals between now and the middle of September, the race for the West is just getting started. Tonight from Minute Maid Park in Houston, the Lone Star Series continues with your Texas Rangers taking on the Houston Astros, coming up next on Fox Sports Southwest. Texas Rangers baseball is presented by high-speed internet from AT&T. Now it's about 109 the apparent temperature outside. Inside here at Minute Maid Park, a very comfortable 72 degrees. It's going to heat up, though. Tonight, your Rangers take on the Houston Astros in the first of this 3-game set over the weekend. And welcome in, everyone, along with Tom Greaves, Steve Busby. Glad you could join us on this Friday night of Ranger baseball. Rangers looking to continue to make up ground in the American League West and widen the gap between them and the second-place Astros. Astros coming in, struggling a bit offensively. Rangers looking to keep that mindset of the Astros reinforced. And Martin Perez on the hill tonight. Tom, he'll be opposed by Dallas Keuchel.
Yeah, it's the veteran Dallas Keuchel, last year's Cy Young Award winner, a 20-game winner. He's trying to bounce back after a slow start. He's pitching much better recently. And Martin Perez, you have a youngster that's 5-2 in his career against the Astros. He's trying to finish strong, prove that he can be an important part of a rotation of a pennant-winning team. So it's the youngster against the veteran Dallas Keuchel, a matchup of two good left-handers.
It should be a dandy tonight if they live up to what they have been doing lately, and that's been pitching well for the both of them. So we'll have the first of 3 games over this weekend tonight for you. We'll come back to Minute Maid Park with more right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. local Texas Ford dealer today during the Ford Freedom Sales Event and see why Ford is the best in Texas. By AT&T High-Speed Internet. Get a deal worth talking about. Get high-speed internet from AT&T. And by Budweiser. Not backing down since 1876. This Bud's for you. And by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. A nice night indoors down here in Houston. They expect a large crowd on hand. It's Friday night of this weekend series, Rangers and the Astros. Before we get underway, let's sit down and check in with John Radigan.
Yeah, Buzz, Delino DeShields back in the lineup again tonight. Back-to-back nights against left-handed pitching. Delino will be in the number 9 spot in the batting order. It was a little over a year ago that Delino got his big opportunity here when Leonys Martin, then with the Rangers, got hurt. Delino filled in admirably and then basically never let go of that center field spot after that. He says he was so happy to have just gotten that opportunity.
That's all I ever wanted, was just an opportunity to play in the big leagues, and just for somebody to have just that little itsy bitsy ounce of faith in me. And you know, these guys over here, they put a little faith in me, and I got to contribute, and I did really well for the team, and helped them win a lot of ball games last year.
The role may be a little bit different this year, but he's going to help them win a lot of ball games. Already has helped them win a lot of ball games again this year. Once again, Delino DeShields back to where it sort of all began for him in Houston against the Astros. We've got the starting lineups in the first pitch coming your way. It's the first of 3 between the Rangers and the Astros. Live from Houston, coming up next.
Minute Maid Park in Houston. Roof obviously closed. A little warm outside on this August 5th evening. Rangers coming in at 63 and 46. Tom's going to tell you about the Southwest Airlines Rangers batting order.
Well, there's the leadoff hitter, the right fielder, Shin-Soo Choo. Ian Desmond will bat second. Carlos Beltran will bat third as the DH. Adrian Beltre is the third baseman and the cleanup hitter. Rugi will play second. He's the 5th place hitter. Ryan Rua gets another start at first base. Elvis Andrus is the shortstop. Catching tonight will be Robinson Chirinos. And batting ninth, the left fielder, Delino DeShields.
That's the lineup that Jeff Bannister used to good effect last night in Baltimore against left-hander Wade Miley. And tonight they face last year's Cy Young Award winner. And that would be Dallas Keuchel. Fastball, changeup, curveball. no secrets. He is matched up against the Rangers a number of times, and it all comes down to how well he executes and how well the Rangers execute their plan against him. So an interesting ball game shaping up, and we are underway. The first pitch to Shin-Soo Choo is low and in for ball one. Keuchel at 6-11, a 4.86 ERA this year. Left-hander from Tulsa, Oklahoma, deals a strike. Choo taking all the way. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. Choo at 266, 7 home runs, 16 RBI back after his 3rd stint of the year on the disabled list in last night's ball game. Had 2 hits and 5 trips to the plate. Good to see him back at the top of the order, and certainly seemed to have an effect on what the ball club was able to do offensively. Up the middle, and that is by Altuve into center field, and Choo leads the ball game off again with a base hit. Oh, Choo aboard is the Astros defense for you. Maristic, Gomez, and Springer left, center, and right. Marwin Gonzalez at first. Jose Altuve, you saw diving for that ball up the middle. He's at second. Carlos Correa and Alex Bregman on the left side, with Evan Gattis catching here this evening.
We were talking yesterday about the Rangers and Jeff Bannister not feeling like Shin-Soo needed any kind of a rehab assignment. And it looks like Shin-Soo and the Rangers were right. He swung the bat well in yesterday's ball game, and right off the bat has a solid single to center field today.
Maybe call these his 2 rehab assignments. 3 for 6 on his rehab assignments.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it. Looks pretty good. Glad to have him back in the lineup.
Here's Ian Desmond. Ian now has fallen below 300. He's at 297. Double play ground ball to Altuve. Steps on the bag and throws to Gonzalez. A 4-3 double play. And just like that, there are 2 outs and the base is empty.
And that's pretty much Keuchel's game there. In that respect, I guess he's a lot like Martin Perez. With men on base, he gets a lot of ground balls anyway. Throws the sinker. He wants the right-hand hitter to swing at that pitch. A sinking fastball away and down, and that's the result he's hoping to get. Ground ball off the end of the bat.
2 outs here was Carlos Beltran. It's a little bit low for ball one. Carlos gets his customary ovation, a chorus of boos here in Houston. He takes inside 2-0. Beltran, 250 the average with the Rangers. Overall hitting just above 300. Shoots that one fair down the left field line, and that is headed into the corner. To pick it out, Maristic. Beltran into second with a double, and he's there with 2 outs.
You know, you always admire Carlos Beltran's ability when you play against him, but the more you get to see him play, and obviously it's only been a few games for the Rangers, but this guy can hit. Very relaxed at the plate, takes a lot of first pitch strikes, but even for a guy that's getting in his upper 30s, his bat hasn't slowed down at all. He's still the same hitter.
Yeah, and against left-handers this year, he came in 4th in the American League with a 359 average against southpaws, and that's going to go up a bit. A 2-out double now has him in scoring position. Adrian Beltre will step in. Beltre, 276 against Keuchel. This is his 50th at bat against the Astros left-hander. He takes low for ball one. Saw the numbers for Beltre, 13 for 49 against Keuchel with a home run. A little bit low and outside, 2 balls, no strikes. And Beltre continuing to hit the ball well in these situations. Runner in scoring position. Beltre is 7th in the American League with a 345 average. 2-0 coming from Keuchel. Now 3-0. Keuchel falling behind to Beltre. Doesn't really look too interested in throwing him a strike in the middle of the plate. That's on the outer edge. Is 3-1. Beltre taking all the way. Beltre hitting 4th. He will be followed by the second baseman, Rougned Odor. Keuchel a couple of checks at second and misses low and outside. There are 2 on with 2 out for Odor. That walk, something that Keuchel in the past has not done much of. Did it a little bit earlier this year. Averaged almost 4 walks per 9 innings. Early part of the season, but he has gotten back to under 2 walks per 9 innings in his last 13 starts or so. Well, he's got Beltran at second, Beltre at first. Rougned Odor, a .279 hitter, will step to the plate. Like the cutter from Dallas Keuchel. Swinging, strike 1. Rougned, not a lot of luck against Dallas Keuchel. Just 2 for 20. One of those 2, though, a home run. Gaddis puts a block on that ball. 1 ball and 1 strike. Beltran getting his lead from second. He is trailed by Adrian Beltre over there at first. Keuchel's 1-1 pitch. Instead, he steps off the back of the rubber. Odor in this ballpark has been a masterful hitter. You remember he got his first major league home run down here 2 years ago. He has 8 home runs and 29 RBI against the Astros. Those are his highest numbers against any opponent. That was just a little bit outside, 2-1. Crowd here getting a little upset with Lance Barksdale, the home plate umpire. They don't feel he's treating Dallas Keuchel with much respect. Not getting the close calls. 2-2. That's that curveball, and Keuchel uses that to great effect against left-handers. Keuchel facing Odor. 2-2, 2 outs, 2 on. In the dirt, it gets by Gaddis, and that will allow Beltran and Beltre to advance 90 feet. A wild pitch. Gaddis had been able to block 1 pitch in the dirt. That one scooted right underneath it.
Gaddis went down to the minor leagues earlier in the year to improve his catching. He's done a pretty nice job. He's thrown out 45% of base stealers so far this year. That puts him right near the top of the list for a guy that hasn't done all that much catching.
If I remember right, he did when he first came up with the Braves, or he came up with the Braves as a catcher, caught a bit there, then they shifted into the outfield because they had McCann, I believe, was catching too at the same time. 3-2, payoff pitch. Pulled on the ground to Gonzalez. He will win that race to the bag, and that'll do it. Rangers get a couple of hits and a walk, but Strand to pair. Half an inning in the books. Rangers nothing. Astros coming up. score in the top of the first. Tom's going to tell you now about the Astros lineup.
There's George Springer, the right fielder, and their leadoff hitter, Alex Bregman. Fourth pick in the draft last year, already in the big leagues and playing third base, Jose Altuve. American League's leading hitter at .355 will bat third. Carlos Correa, the young shortstop, is the cleanup hitter. Evan Gattis is the catcher. Tyler White will bat sixth. He's the DH. At first base is Marwin Gonzalez. Carlos Gomez, the center fielder, hits eighth. Batting ninth, the left fielder, Jake Marisnik.
And A.J. Hinch in his second year at the helm of the Astros. His team facing Martin Perez, the 25-year-old southpaw out of Venezuela. His 23rd start of the year. That's the tops on the Ranger Ball Club. And it extends his career high for Martin Perez. George Springer leading things off a .256 average. Springer also drawing a lot of walks. On base percentage way up there. Slow chopper to Beltre. There is one out, and if that's any indication, Martin Perez has that sinker ball working for him tonight. Springer chops out to Beltre. One out. Alex Bregman coming up. We'll take a look at the Ranger defense, delivered to you by the New Braunfels Convention and Visitors Bureau. Outfield, like last night, the Shields, Desmond and Chu, left, center, and right. Rua at first. Odor joins him on the right side. Elvis Andrus, Adrian Beltre handle the left side of the diamond. Robinson Chirinos getting the start tonight behind the plate. And Bregman, first ball swinging, will roll out to Elvis Andrus. Two gone.
Been kind of rough going for Bregman. 2 for 36 now in his big league debut. Astros are sticking with him. They have faith in him. He's playing great in the minor leagues. Finding the going at the big league is a little bit tougher right now, though.
Well, here's a guy that's not finding the going very tough. That would be Jose Altuve. .355 average. Second in baseball for that .355 mark. Altuve leading the American League by quite some, by nearly 30 points. He cues that first one foul. It's 0-1.
They're not wasting any time going up there swinging.
No, they aren't.
Swinging at sinkers down below the knees, one right after the other.
Only player in baseball hitting higher than Altuve, I mean, Daniel Murphy. One ball, one strike. Now our four leaderboard talking about the leaders in the American League slugging percentage-wise. Altuve third behind Ortiz and Donaldson.
Well, Altuve's on pace to hit 28 or 30 home runs right now.
1 and 2.
Imagine how far Altuve would hit him if he was like 6'3" and 220. He's one of the stature-wise smallest guys in the league, but he doesn't take a backseat to anybody.
No
matter how big they are.
You know, the thing that gets me too, Tom, how much he's cut down on his strikeouts compared to how much he's raised his walks. He's just about even walks and strikeouts this year. He's going to add one to his strikeout total. It's a very quick and easy 1-2-3 first inning, 6 total pitches. Make that 7 pitches for Martin Perez. No score after 1. Folks, put a big circle on your calendars around Wednesday, August 10th. That's when the next Texas Chili Company Dollar Hot Dog Night is coming to Globe Life. It'll be the Colorado Rockies in town to take on the Rangers. So come on out to the ballpark early. Enjoy all the hot dogs you can eat for just $1 each. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com or call 972-RANGERS. These guys are playing like they're double parked. First out here in the second inning as Ryan Rua grounds out to short.
Yeah, that's a play a big league shortstop has to be able to make. If you can't make that play, you really can't play shortstop. And you see Correa plants and that strong, accurate arm. Just a youngster, but he makes all the plays, and a big shortstop too.
A 21-year-old Carlos Correa, American League Rookie of the Year last year. Here's Elvis. Takes low and inside for ball one. Andrus really having a solid year. A .291 average, 4 home runs, 46 RBI. .11 for 50 lifetime against Dallas Keuchel. 2-1. Oh, you mentioned, you look up and down the order, the number of at-bats Ranger hitters have against Keuchel. Mentioned there are really no secrets. He's used everything he has in his arsenal against the Ranger hitters. Ranger hitters have seen it. They've tried to do what they can. Elvis driving this to right. Springer going back, reaches up and makes the catch. Nice play by George Springer, who was playing his customary shallow right field. And Elvis sent him back to the track for that out.
Yeah, there's been some games where Springer shades over near the line and almost in back of second base. This time he starts out in a fairly normal spot in right field, but it wouldn't be the Astros against the Rangers if Springer wasn't making a good catch. I would be willing to venture a guess that in every series we've played the Astros, he's made at least one catch as good or better than that.
Robinson Chirinos now batting in the 8th spot, takes ball one. Chirinos, a .192 average, 8 home runs, 17 driven in. 1 ball and 1 strike. Chirinos getting his first start since the trade on the trading deadline that brought Jonathan Lucroy over to the Rangers. Jeff Manners was saying today he wanted to give Lucroy the day off and get Chirinos back behind the plate. He and Martin Perez have a pretty good thing going. Two and one. Saw the numbers for Martin Perez, or I should say for Robinson Chirinos, a .154 against Keuchel. Just 2 for 13. 2-2. Keuchel going into his windup, and Robinson not quite ready. So Lance Barksdale gave him time. Now the 2-2 pitch. Out will be recorded at first as Keuchel has his first 1-2-3 inning, his first strikeout of the night. Rangers gone in the second after 1.5, no score in Houston. Sports Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer today during the Ford Freedom Sales event and see why Ford is the best in Texas. The scoreless ball game here as we go to the bottom of the second inning. Martin Perez facing the middle third of the Astros order. That will begin with Carlos Correa. Sinker a bit low for ball one. Perez only needed 7 pitches to dispatch the first 3 Astros. Correa a .266 average, 15 home runs, 68 driven in. Takes ball 2. Correa 3 out of 11 in previous matchups against Martin Perez. That bottom line right there will tell you that. .361 on base percentage for the young shortstop. Three 0. Martin takes a little walk in front of the mound and does a little landscaping on the way back. Correa leading off here in the second. He'll be followed by Evan Gattis, the catcher. Three and 1. Astros in the last week have scored a grand total of 7 runs in 6 ball games. They have lost 5 of those 6. Really struggling to score runs, and that's one area that they have not been reducing either. It was in the walk department. Martin Perez walks the leadoff man. Now we'll face Gattis.
Well, one of the things the Rangers did last night is they didn't walk anybody. They gave up 3 solo home runs, but without any bases on balls or anyone on base, it didn't affect the outcome of the ball game. Martin very sharp in the first inning. Looked like he was being exceptionally careful to Correa right there, going out of his way not to throw anything in the strike zone.
Well, here's Gattis hitting at .220. Martin drops in that breaking ball for strike 1. Gattis 17 home runs and 43 RBI. This begins the part of the batting order that the Astros have really had trouble getting production from. 5 through 9. They get a base hit from Gattis into right field. Correa will stop at second. A leadoff walk followed by a single. 2 on, nobody out for Tyler White.
Gattis got a good fastball to hit that time. Goes the other way. Looked like he was almost trying to shoot one through that hole between first and second.
Correa at second, Gattis at first. Tyler White to the plate, hitting at .212. White, you'll remember, his first foray into the big leagues, the first week of the season was the American League Player of the Week. And it's kind of gone downhill since then. There's a strike from Perez, 0-1. White 7 home runs, 21 RBI. Astros sending down to AAA Fresno for better part of a month. Check swing right back to Perez. They're going to go to third, and they get the out there. Adrian Beltre is telling Martin Perez, throw the ball to second. We had the double play. Almost caught Beltre completely off guard. That's just not almost, he did.
That's having no idea what you're going to do with the ball hit back to the mound. I mean, that's a routine double play. With White running, he wasn't even out of the batter's box. And he wheeled almost threw it down the right field line. You get the lead runner, but you got a shot for 2 outs. Forget about the lead runner and just get the routine double play. That's just not being aware of the circumstances in the ball game to know what you're going to do when the ball's hit you. That's a routine play.
You cover that 400 or 500 times over spring training.
It's like it was Beltre at third base.
Yeah.
He might have thrown to some other third baseman and not even gotten leather on it. Just assumed the ball's going to go to second base.
A 1 out now. Runner still at first and second. Marwin Gonzalez, the switch hitter, takes a strike to the outside corner. Gonzalez, 256 overall. And 10 home runs, 28 driven in. Got Gaddis out there at second, White at first. Nothing in 2. Gonzalez, as you can see, off Martin Perez, 3 out of 10 in his career. Hit safely in 15 of his last 16 ball games. And one of the few Astros in the bottom part of the order that get reasonably hot. Martin walking around a little bit as Marwin Gonzalez starts to settle back into the batter's box. And the left-hander sets. Two out on the strikeout. Gonzalez gone. Carlos Gomez will be next.
And just took advantage of a little bit of over-aggressiveness on the part of Marwin Gonzalez. Ball bounced on top of home plate, it looked like. You see Robinson patting the ground, telling him, make sure you keep it down.
Yep.
And just like earlier in the count, he got Gonzalez to wail away at it.
Boy, that's Martin Perez having the confidence in Chirinos to go ahead and bounce that ball up there. So often you see a pitcher that, with runners on particularly, just won't throw that ball in the dirt, even though that's where you want it. See if you can get a guy to chase. But Martin has enough confidence in Chirinos' ability to block that ball that he went ahead and made the pitch. Here's Gomez hitting at just 215. Beltre will cut this off, makes the tag on Gaddis going by, and that will do it. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left for the Astros. We'll move on to the 3rd inning. Rangers nothing, Astros nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. The fireworks are a Friday night tradition out at Globe Life Park. Make sure to catch the next post-game fireworks show. That's coming up on August the 12th. It is presented by Big Green Egg. Rangers take on the Detroit Tigers in a 7:05 game. Get your tickets today at TexasRangers.com, or you can call 972-RANGERS. Doug Brocail talking to Martin Perez. A lot of smiles in the dugout about what went on
I guarantee you if there had been a run scored because of that play, there wouldn't have been a lot of smiles.
If he threw that ball down the right field line instead of Adrian being ready for it, he'd still be out on the mound with about 5 runs in and nobody out.
1 ball and 1 strike to Delino DeShields, leading off the Ranger third.
But to his credit, he came back, settled down, and got out of the inning easily.
Now 2-1. Yeah, that took some pretty good pitching after that. And he made it. Delino at 226. 3 home runs, 9 driven in. Into the hole. Correa got rid of it in a hurry and got DeShields by half a step.
Yeah, pretty smooth. He knows the speed that Delino has. He doesn't have much time, but he didn't take much time. Just caught it and threw it.
See, he got over there in front of that ball quickly enough where he could set himself and already get his momentum transferring from his back leg to his front leg as he fielded the ball. It's a pretty good play by the young shortstop. Now back to the top of the order here is Shin-Soo Choo, who singled it to open up the ballgame. And talking about Choo, he is our TXU Energy power player to watch. Last 10 ball games in this ballpark, Choo has hit to a .410 clip. Take strike 2. 4 home runs, 9 RBI in those 10 ball games. Keuchel's 0-2. Couldn't get Choo to offer it that pitch down and away. Keuchel 37 pitches into this ball game. More balls than strikes tonight. 19 balls and 18 strikes. Got him swinging. Sinker down and in to the left-hander hitting Choo, and he is gone on strike. Second strikeout, 2 gone. And before Ian Desmond comes up, we're going to send it back to Dana Larson for a Chevy game break. All right, Dana, thank you. The Rangers don't need to do any scoreboard watching tonight. They've got their closest pursuer on the same field with them. Astros 6.5 games behind the Rangers in the AL West.
The Tigers have been exceptionally hot. Keuchel pitched against the Tigers in his last start. He lost 11-0. Gave up 7 hits and 7 runs in 5 innings, but it shows how hot the Tigers have been, because prior to that, in 7 starts, Keuchel was 3-1 with a .272 ERA. He's throwing the ball great. That was probably a combination of the Tigers are hot and he had an off night. But that's the only bad outing he's had in well over a month coming into today. Even though he gave up a couple of hits in the first inning, it's a lot better today than he did in a couple of starts earlier against the Rangers.
Yeah, that game against the Tigers, too. He gave up a grand slam to his former Arkansas teammate. James McCann hit it. Salami.
Gave up 6 in the first.
2-2 to Desmond. Tapper right back to Keuchel. On to first, and that will do it. Well, 3 up, 3 down. That's 7 straight now sent down by Dallas Keuchel. He played 2.5 in Houston. No score, Rangers and the Astros.
It's the Astros and the Rangers, the new look Rangers with the likes of Carlos Beltran in the lineup again tonight. He's really done a nice job making the adjustment to transition to a new team, and he thinks he knows exactly why.
It takes time, man, to get adjusted to a new clubhouse, new people. The fact that this clubhouse just is different, meaning that so happy, so loud, so crazy, it makes it fun for me. Me being a veteran player, I know that I've been in these type of situations before, so I know the Rangers acquire me to help these teams.
And he is excited to be here and excited to have the opportunity to win his first World Series. He's played in one. He likes this happy, loud bunch who he thinks might have a chance to take him all the way to the promised land, guys.
All right, John, thank you. While we're listening to Carlos Beltran talk, Jake Marisnick led off the third inning with a solid base hit to left field.
It seems like last time he played the Astros, Marisnick was hitting about 050. Been a little bit better lately. Still for the season, he's only knocked in 9 runs. Been up 160 times.
George Springer with his second at bat of the night. Tapped out to Adrian Beltre, starting off the first inning this evening for the Astros. 1 on, nobody out. Marisnick with very good speed at first base. Rangers playing Springer a couple of steps around to the left. Center field. Desmond makes the catch and throwing back behind Marisnick, but not in time. Well, nice jump by Ian Desmond in center. He made that play look pretty easy.
In this case, Marisnick turned his back and walked back to first base. Let's take a shot at him over there at first.
A 1 out. Now Alex Bregman, the young third baseman. As Tom told you, Bregman, the top pick of the Astros last year. He's the first position player from the 2015 draft to get to the big leagues. Out of LSU. One ball and no strikes. Bregman now 2 for 36. Perez checking Marisnick at first. He will make a toss over there to drive him back. Astros this year, 79 stolen bases and 109 attempts. Marisnick 6 out of 10. The team trying to keep Marisnick close enough to give not only Robinson Chirinos a chance to throw him out if he should go, but also to keep him a step closer to give the Rangers a chance to turn over a double play if they get a ground ball. 2 balls, no strikes. Bregman bluffing a bunt.
The minor leagues, Bregman hit over 300, hit 20 home runs. The only thing he did is he walked 47 times and only struck out 38 times. So he was playing exceptionally well, Double-A, then Triple-A. It's early in his big league career, but it obviously hasn't translated yet.
Check swing. That pitch is low and outside. 3 balls and no strikes.
Now, this is a guy you don't want to walk. 2 for 36, and you've got Altuve and Correa coming up next.
Altuve in that on-deck circle. Robinson Chirinos, and come on now, give me that good strike in here. 3-1. Martrine taking that big, deep breath right there in the next exhaling, trying to manage the emotions on the mound. The 3-1 pitch. Outside, ball 4, he lost it.
There's walks that you're careful, walks that you don't care about, but that's not a good walk right there.
Now puts 2 aboard for the big run producer, or big run producers, Altuve and Correa.
Altuve is a little over anxious his first time up, swung at a couple of pitches out of the strike zone. And he's kind of thrived in clutch situations for the Astros in his career.
And that shot you had right there, that's something you never want to see behind a pitcher, and that's having your second baseman down in a squat, saying, okay, I've been standing out here too long. I got to take some pressure off my feet. Want those guys on their toes and ready to turn anything they can get their hands on. First pitch from Perez. Beltran can't get it down the left field line. Maristic will score. Bregman into third. Altuve to second. The Astros lead at 1-0. Well, it didn't take long for that walk to come back and bite Martin Perez.
Almost a double play. Hanging slider, it looked like, on the inside part of the plate. Altuve hit it sharply. Adrian couldn't quite get to it. Ball went underneath his glove. He didn't have much time. The ball was hit so hard. A little luck. Ball's hit at him and you get a double play, but the walk to Bregman set up that run. Not what you want to do before Altuve comes to bat.
No, second and third now. A run across. Still just 1 out. Carlos Correa drew a walk leading off the second inning. Here's where you really need to be careful. You do have first base open, even though you have a right-handed hitter in the on-deck circle. You don't want to give Correa an opportunity to make this a big inning. And Gattis, the 5th place hitter, is next. The Ranger outfield shading Carlos Correa a bit to right center field. Base hit to right. 1 run is home. Altuve will score. Correa with a 2-run single. The Astros lead at 3-0.
The 69th and 70th RBIs for Correa. He does a superb job of hitting that sinker down and away into right field. Didn't try to pull it, waited on it. Picked up those 2 runs.
The Astros with 3 here in the 3rd inning. Most runs they've scored in a ball game since the end of July. Here's Gattis. The Shields can't get it. 1 hop, and he will hold Correa at second. Gattis 2 for 2.
After the walk to Bregman, the key guys in the middle of the lineup, Altuve, Correa, Gattis, all good swings, sharply hit balls.
Doug Brocail out to slow things down a little bit for his beleaguered battery. Martin Perez, Robinson Chirinos, Guggen Odor in there eavesdropping on the conversation. That's Barksdale, the home plate umpire. All right, here's my 2 cents worth. So walk, double, single, single. 3 runs across, runners at first and second, still just 1 out. Tyler White is the hitter. Correa at second, Gaddis at first. White in an identical situation as last time up. Hit a comebacker to Martin Perez. Perez looked like he was kind of flustered, ended up throwing the ball to third base. Unfortunately, Adrian Beltre reacted to it. He saw the ball coming. He got the out at third, but the Taylor made double play back to the mound. 0-1 the count. Base hit to left. Being waved around third. Here comes a throw from DeShields. It is not in time. RBI single for Tyler White. 4-0 Houston.
Astros are taking some pretty hefty swings. Tyler White, a big swing at that, got on top of it, but still hit it on a good part of the bat.
Martin Perez trying to figure out some way to get a ball put in play softly at somebody.
Yeah, he's kind of gotten away from that sinker down and away where he'd get a ground ball. That's what he needs right now. Stop the damage right here. Get a double play.
Here's Marwin Gonzalez. There's a strike right at the bottom of the zone.
Yeah, that's what he's looking for. Low strike.
Perez got Gonzalez swinging his first time to the plate. 5 consecutive Astros have reached base here in the third inning. They lead 4-0. 1-1. Perez, a check of the runners. He comes in with an off-speed pitch that catches the upper reaches of the strike zone. 1-2. Most runs that Martin Perez has ever allowed in a ball game to the Astros. Double play ground ball. Elvis to Odor, back to Rua. 6-4-3, that'll do it for the Astros, but they score 5 times on 5 hits, or 4 times on 5 hits and leave 1. After 3, Astros 4, Rangers 0. to you by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. And by the all-new 3-row Mazda CX-9, meticulously crafted for driving because driving matters. The Rangers have some work to do here at Minute Maid Park. Astros put a 4 spot on the board in the 3rd. And the Rangers with the middle of the order, Carlos Beltran, Adrian Beltre, and Rougned Odor. Dallas Keuchel missing with ball 1.
You know, watching Keuchel, Buzz, he's retired 8 in a row. It's pretty obvious, at least early in this game, that he's throwing a lot better than he was earlier in the season. And if you look at the overall numbers for the season, they've improved recently in the last month and a half, but overall for the season, the last 2 years combined, he averaged 2 walks per 9 innings and 0.6 home runs per 9 innings. This year, he's averaged almost 3 walks per 9 innings, which is about 50% higher, and he's almost doubled his home run output, not to mention that opponents are hitting 50 points higher. And against the Rangers coming into this game, he was 0-3 in 3 starts with an ERA around 8. Really hadn't pitched a good game against the Rangers. The best he pitched was his last start, 7 innings, 4 runs. But today, he looks much more like he did last year. That kind of started about 6 weeks ago. We mentioned a bad start against the Tigers, but before that, he had 6 or 7 really good starts. In fact, 6 starts out of 7 where he gave up 2 earned runs or less. But at the beginning of the year, he was really struggling and giving up a lot of hits. Maybe that's why he was giving up so many walks.
Yeah,
well, strikes.
Yeah, you're probably right. And you know, I think you get on a roll where you're not getting the pitches that you normally get, and the pitches you make in the strike zone are getting tattooed. It's a little tough to make yourself throw more strikes.
Yeah.
But he was walking almost 4 batters per 9 innings in his first 9 starts, just to break that down a little further. And since then, his last 13 starts, he's down below 2, so that's much better. That's more like you're talking about.
Right, kind of right where he's been the last 2 years.
Yep. And
it's obvious tonight that he's throwing much better than he did in the first 3 starts against the Rangers. He looks just like he did last year. Last year against the Rangers, he was 3-2 with a 3.48 ERA, but 9 of those came in 1 start. So in the other 4, he was really good.
Well, he gets 3 ground ball outs here in the 4th. Rangers go quietly. After 3.5, Astros 4, Rangers nothing. Look at tonight's greater coverage of baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile. Now, Mark Teixeira, former Ranger, announced today that he will retire effective at the end of this season. In 14 years, Mark Teixeira, a .269 career average, 404 home runs with 1,281 RBI, 5-time Gold Glove winner, 3 Silver Slugger Award for Mark Teixeira. So a great career coming to a close for Tex. Martin Perez going to work in the bottom of the 4th inning. And If you didn't know who was at the plate before that swing, I think you do now. Only Carlos Gomez comes out of his shoes like that. Gomez grounded into a fielder's choice as he ended the second inning. Strike two. Gomez a .214 average as he faces Martin Perez. Still nothing in two. Now Martin Perez faced 8 hitters in the third inning. Gave up 5 hits and 4 runs. Also mixed in a walk, which really got the whole thing started. Trying to settle back down, get at least through 6 innings here tonight. Pitch count pretty manageable, only at 43 thus far. One-two pitch. High in the air, twisting down the right side. Choo right at the small wall there as the wall juts out toward the foul line and stays with it nicely. The catch for out number 1. That's not an easy play for an outfielder to get that little wall coming up.
See him check the wall, knows right where he is. Fan wanted to catch it, but realized that it was in play.
At least there's padding on that wall, but you still got to have in the back of your mind that if you hit it, it's just about the right height to flip you over. Now, one out, here's Jake Maristic. Maristic started the third inning with a solid base hit to left field. Average at .230. 2 balls, no strikes. Perez back to the plate. 3-0. Martin dealing with the number 9 hitter in Jake Maristic. Top of the order, George Springer will follow. Three and one. Set of that target, down and away to the right-hander. That's out of play down the right side. Well, the count goes full. Perez back with a payoff pitch. Elvis gets rid of it in a hurry. That is out number 2. Nice job by Perez to come back from a 3-0 count to get the ground out. Well, the fans have voted, folks. The first 15,000 fans 14 and older in the game on Saturday, August 13th, receive a Snapple Brookshire's Fan Vote Rangers t-shirt. That's selected by you, the fans. Don't miss the special giveaway. The Rangers take on the Detroit Tigers that afternoon. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com. Or you can call 972 Rangers. Now George Springer steps in for his third at bat. Fouls that pitch off. Springer has grounded a third in line to center. .255 season average for Springer, and Springer just 1 for 11 against Martin. And he shoots one in the air to straightaway center field. That will do it. So Martin Perez bounces back to have a 1-2-3 fourth inning. On to the 5th we go in Houston. The Astros 4, the Rangers nothing.
Where the Rangers find themselves in a 4-0 hole in my ever-present quest to find the best sandwich in the world. I found myself in a New York delicatessen, a New York-style delicatessen. It's called Kenny and Ziggy's. I'd heard a lot about it, and I love a New York deli. I could tell it was a New York deli because it had meat hanging from the ceiling like they do in New York delis. I could tell it was a New York-style deli because of so many of the other features, as we see the first pitch there to Ryan Rua. They've got pictures of playbills and all kinds of Broadway musicals on the wall. That's New York style right there. But the real thing that makes a New York-style deli a New York-style deli is definitely the sandwiches. The sandwiches have to be big. There's the pitch right back to Keuchel, who makes the play to first base. And take a look at the big sandwich. That is called the fiddler on the roof of your mouth. Get it? They use a play, fiddler on the roof of your mouth. That's pastrami. It's corned beef. It's coleslaw. It's a triple-decker sandwich as big as my hand. That's the part that I took home, Buzz and Tom, because it's such a huge sandwich. But I'm telling you, it is the best New York-style deli I've found anywhere outside of New York. Kenny and Ziggy's a kind of a Houston landmark, guys.
John, you sold me.
You're doing some pretty good eating on this trip, John.
Too much eating is what I'm doing. More running tomorrow.
Yeah, let's see where's the follow-up? Where were you jogging after you ate that thing?
He jogged back to the hotel after. Chopper cut off by Bregman. And the throw gets Elvis. The tag applied by Marwin Gonzalez.
Pretty good range by Bregman. He went way to his left to get that ball. Bregman, of course, is a shortstop who's not going to be playing a whole lot of shortstop for the Astros, but getting some time at third base. The Astros signed a Cuban player, Yulieski Gurriel, who's in the minor leagues right now, who may come up and play third base when he's ready. He's not a youngster. He's kind of a veteran Cuban player. I wouldn't think they gave him all that money to have him spend the rest of the year in the minor leagues.
Well, he's about, what, 30 or 31?
Yeah, he's ready to get in shape and come up here and play. Find out if he can anyway.
Right. 0-1 pitch to Torinos. He's popped back into the seats. But Keuchel, as he likes to do now, working very quickly. And he has gotten that ground ball back in order. He has retired 12 straight Rangers. 1-2. Last Ranger to reach base, Adrian Beltre, with a 2-out walk in the first. Next pitch to Torinos. That will even the count. Keuchel tonight with a couple of strikeouts, 10 groundouts, and 1 flyout. Full count. Well, Torinos trying to get aboard to snap that streak and also extend this 5th inning. Delino DeShields, the Ranger number 9 hitter, is next. Rangers had 2 hits and a walk in the first inning. Double play helped Keuchel out of that inning without any damage to him. And there is ball 4. Well, Torinos draws the 2-out walk. That snaps the consecutive hitters' retired streak.
Could have been a strike. Wouldn't have gotten a whole lot of an argument from the Rangers if it was.
Now Delino DeShields now will step in. DeShields rounded out into the shortstop hole that Correa made a nice play on back in the 3rd inning. Delino, as you heard talking with John Radigan, saying this is where it all began as a member of the Houston Astros organization. Rangers got Delino on a Rule 5 pick year before last. Made the ball club last year, had to stay with him the whole year, or Rangers would have been obligated to offer him back to the Astros. A little bit low, 1-2. But the injury to then center fielder Leonys Martin in this ballpark. Matter of fact, last May, a year ago May, and that gave Delino the opportunity he'd been looking for. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Dallas Keuchel, as we mentioned, played his collegiate ball at University of Arkansas. The Razorback. Didn't really want to. It's strike 3. Another 2-out walk. No damage to Keuchel. Rangers strand a runner. We played half the ball game at Minute Maid. Astros 4, Rangers nothing. With our Coors Timeless Moment tonight, we'll take you back 6 years ago on this date. Following a 10-hour auction, the Rangers purchased by the current ownership group, including Ray Davis and Bob Simpson, at auction in downtown Fort Worth. And that's one of those moments that if you're a Ranger fan, you knew exactly where you were when that came down. Ball club out in Seattle that night. Ranger franchise turning a page that evening. Alex Bregman drew the big 1-out walk in the 3rd inning, and he was the first of 5 consecutive Astros to reach base against Martin Perez. Bregman 0 for 1 officially, having grounded out in the 1st. Sky to shallow center field. Ian Desmond camping out underneath it. That is out number 1. Bregman retired. Now Jose Altuve. Altuve opened the scoring tonight for the Astros. Had an RBI double. Driving in his 65th run of the year. Then he came around to score on Carlos Correa's 2-run single. One ball and no strikes. Say for the most part tonight, Lance Barksdale, the home plate umpire, has had a pretty tight strike zone. 2-0. Now 3-0. Well, Perez trying to keep that ball away. There's the hot zones for Jose Altuve. He's got quite a few of them, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'd say by looking at that, you better keep it down and away if you want to have any success against him.
That's exactly what Martin Perez is trying to do, and he's gone to 3-0. Now he loses him on the 4th pitch. A 1-out walk as Altuve at first. Carlos Correa coming up before he steps in. Let's send it back to Dana Larson for a Chevy game break. All right, Dana, thank you. Now Martin Perez issuing his third walk of the night. First pitch to Carlos Correa. Took something off. It's a good thing because Correa was geared up to take that ball to right center field if it was a fastball.
Yeah, Cleveland finally picked up a game on Detroit yesterday, but they're getting ready to give it back today. Justin Verlander's pitching another good game. He was the pitcher of the month last month and threw seven innings.
Right back at the corner of the Crawford boxes. Now Delino has to come back in a few steps.
As short as it is out there, you kind of hold your breath when you hit one high like that out that way. Fortunately, it's a little bit to the right of it and a little bit short of it. Now, Verlander's beating the Mets 4-2 in the seventh inning today. Here's Delino, got his back to that wall, so he wouldn't have to go back any farther. Martin kind of held his breath, I'm sure, when that ball went up in the air, but fortunately popped it up. He got underneath it.
Yeah, it's only about 330 feet or so right to that corner out there from home plate, so you don't have to hit it a ton to get it out. Well, 2 outs. Altuve still at first. Here's Evan Gattis, who has singled both times that he has faced Martin Perez tonight. Nothing in 1. Gattis has hit fastballs both times, once to right and once to left. Well, he didn't get a fastball in the first pitch. Average at 225 for Gattis. And you have to be aware of Altuve at first, one of the premier base stealers in all of baseball. Altuve this year, 25 out of 29 in the stolen base category. Now, Martin Perez and Robinson Chirinos going to talk things over. Now we're set. And Chirinos asked for time once again. The 0-1 pitch. And Martin is shaking his head. Apparently that wasn't located where he wanted it. A little frustration showing for the left-hander. Chirinos going back through the signs once again. Try the Uncle Charlie at number 2. And he gets the ground ball to Elvis. Short way to Odor. That will do it. The force play removes Altuve and sends the Astros back out into the field. No runs, no hits. The Walker left stranded after 5. 4-0 Astros. Sonic. Tonight's jackpot is $600 and dinner for two at Sonic Drive-In. If a Ranger hits a home run during this inning, Ronald D. Garrison from Mineral Wells will win $600. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, Ronald is going to take home $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. Well, Ronald, I like your chances. Shin-Soo Choo, Ian Desmond, Carlos Beltran, and Adrian Beltre. If you want to keep on going, Rougned Odor, the top of the order here in the Rangers' sixth inning. Dallas Keuchel has allowed just one walk to the Rangers since the first inning. Has kept them off the scoreboard, and Shin-Soo Choo 1 out of 2 tonight will start things off. And not quite yet is Keuchel and Evan Gattis not together on the signs.
Well, Keuchel got off to a pretty good start this year. In his third start against the Tigers, he beat the Tigers 1-0, went 8 innings in that start. Then the Astros came to Texas and the Rangers bombed him. They got 13 hits and 6 runs against him. And that started a stretch of 11 starts over a 2-month period where he went 1-8 with a 7.35 ERA. Since that time, he's been a lot better.
Altuve to the backhand. One gone.
We talked about tonight, through 5 1/3, he's looked like the Dallas Keuchel from the last couple of years. Also mentioned that against the Rangers, he's had 3 starts this year and hasn't had a good start against them until tonight. 0-3 with an ERA around 8. Well, he's come a long way since earlier in the year. But one of the reasons the Astros got off to a bad start was their ace was not pitching like their ace.
Now here's Ian Desmond. And Ian has not been able to solve Keuchel tonight at all. He's hit a couple of balls right off the end of the bat. One a double play grounder that Altuve fielded right next to the bag, and the other a tapper right back to Keuchel. Lines this one to right field. Springer retreating. 2 gone. That's just the second out in the air tonight off of Keuchel.
Both of them have been hit to Springer. 2 nice plays. Elvis had one back in the second inning.
The fans love Carlos Beltran down here. Beltran 1 out of 2 with a double tonight. One ball and 1 strike. Beltran appearing in his 4th game since the Rangers acquired him from the Yankees on Monday, that trade deadline deal. Sent 3 players New York way, headed by Dylan Tate. Outside corner, 1-2. Keuchel doesn't waste much time between pitches. And swinging. Keuchel with his 4th strikeout. Rangers again gone in order. After 5 1/2, Houston Astros leading the Texas Rangers 4-0. game on Sunday, August 14th will be treated to an Adrian Beltre removable helmet bobblehead. That's courtesy of Nitto Tires. It'll be one of the first 15,000 fans at Globe Life Park to the Rangers-Tigers game that afternoon to collect this one-of-a-kind bobblehead. Find your tickets at TexasRangers.com or you can call 972-RANGERS. Remember, remove Adrian's helmet at your own risk. Just be careful. Reach up there and slap your hand away. Tyler White leading things off for the Astros here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Lofts a fly ball to right. Chu toward the line. That is out number 1. For Tyler White, who had an RBI single in the 3rd, 1 out of 3 now. And Marwin Gonzalez will be next.
Yeah, the Astros have had 6 hits in the game, but they bunched them all together in the 3rd inning. 4 of them came in a row after a leadoff single in that inning. Other than that, they've only had 1 hit. But they hit the ball hard in the 3rd inning, scored their 4 runs. Not to Martine's credit, he's bounced back and pitched a couple of strong innings since then.
Yes, he has.
Regrouped.
Marwin Gonzalez has struck out, grounded into a double play. Gonzalez, the switch hitter, up there from the right side. Mentioned Gonzalez hit safely in 15 of his last 16 ball games. That dates back to the first week in July. He's been a .286 hitter over that span. Now the 1-1 pitch.
In spite of that big inning in the 3rd, Martine's pitch count is very good. They've only thrown 70 pitches. Well, they had 5 hits and 4 runs in the 3rd inning, but a lot of those hits came early in the count.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were long 5-6 pitch at bats.
Now the 1-2 to Gonzalez. Got him swinging up the ladder, and Gonzalez couldn't quite reach that high.
Yeah, he's had Marwin Gonzalez's number tonight. Double play and 2 punch outs.
3 strikeouts overall for Martin Perez. Now with the bases empty, our team will go to work against Carlos Gonzalez, or Gomez. Gomez 0 for 2. He has grounded out and fly to right field. Outfield plays Gomez straight away. Infield shades him a little more to pull. And around on that pitch, 1 ball and 1 strike. Good look at the Ranger defensive alignment. About a 5 or 6 step shading by the infield around to the left. 1-2. Astros picked up Gomez from the Milwaukee Brewers. To use his addition to really solidify the outfield, give him more defense, a little more offense. Got him swinging. Back-to-back punch-outs, 4 in the game for Martin Perez. He sends the Astros down in order. We are going to the 7th down here in Houston. It's the Astros 4 and the Rangers 0 on Fox Sports Southwest. Ford game summary, and it's been all Astros so far. In that third inning, Jose Altuve opened the scoring with an RBI double, made it 1-0 Astros. The big hit of the inning, Carlos Correa's opposite field two-run single, made it a 3-0 Astro lead. And then to add on, Tyler White, the RBI base hit. Driving in the fourth run of the inning, George Springer bringing it around. 4-0 Houston, and that has been the sum total of the offense tonight. All 4 runs for the Astros in that third inning. Martin Perez able to settle down since then. He's gotten through 6. Rangers to bat here in the 7th. Adrian Beltre against Dallas Keuchel. Beltre tonight has walked and grounded to short. 0 for 1, hitting at .275. Pulls one right out to Correa, the shortstop. 1 gone. There will be no worms left alive at Minute Maid Park on the field tonight. Right? Killed all of them.
That's pretty good example of Keuchel at his best when that's happening. He's had a couple of gems against the Rangers in the past. Back in 2014, he had a complete game shutout. Last year, he had a nice game against the Rangers here in July. 7 innings, struck out 13. Didn't give up a run. But more often than not, the Rangers have done pretty well against him.
Rougned Odor takes strike 1. Odor twice tonight has grounded to first. Keuchel to the plate. 0-2. Rougned hitting at .277 as he faces the bearded Dallas Keuchel. A lot of beards in the crowd tonight, too. Get out the kids get the beards, the parents take the beards from the kids. I don't know who gets a bigger kick out of wearing the beards out here, the moms and dads, or there they are. Another 0-2 pitch. Instead, time was called. Let's take a look at our Kubota power stats. How about Dallas Keuchel? How about how the outs have been spread out? 4 strikeouts, 13 groundouts, and 2 flyouts. That pitch all the way to the backstop. Gaddis can't find it, and Rougned's going to reach on a strikeout wild pitch. First time the Rangers have had a runner on base with less than 2 outs since the first inning. The 5th strikeout for Dallas Keuchel, but it results in Odor reaching first. Ryan Rua, we'll see if the Rangers can't capitalize. Rua tonight has grounded to short and tapped back to the mound. Nothing in 1. Rua coming into play tonight has been teeing off against left-handers. One of the Ranger middle order hitters that had really been beating up on southpaws. A .325 average for Rua as he takes strike 2. On base plus slugging hovering just below 900. Keuchel has had Rua and everybody else in the Ranger order pretty well tied up tonight. A ball and 2 strikes. If you want reason for optimism, the last 2 starts that Martin Perez has had, he has gotten a no decision, but they have both resulted in Ranger walk-off wins. Now, we aren't going to have a Ranger walk-off win here tonight because they're playing on the road, but might give you reason to believe Rangers have a big comeback in them somehow. Keuchel's 2-2 pitch. Call strike 3. Rua admiring that Keuchel fastball. 2 gone. Well, folks, wrap up Star Wars weekend at the ballpark on Sunday, August 28th. The first 15,000 fans will take home a Texas Rangers Star Wars poster. Compliments of Takis. Purchase your tickets today at TexasRangers.com, and may the Force be with you. Rangers could use a little Jedi mind trick here tonight. Elvis takes strike 1. Elvis has hit the ball sharp. He lined to right field first time up. He grounded sharply to third in the 5th inning. One ball, 1 strike. Andrus, a 4-game hitting streak on the line tonight. Odor, pretty good lead at first. Keuchel misses down and away. 2-1. Keuchel comes back with a breaking ball and gets the bottom of the zone. 2-2. Foul ball. We will reset and try it again. Last pitch for Dallas Keuchel, number 91 this evening. He has tossed 55 strikes, 36 balls. Well, he has turned it around. We mentioned early in the game, in the 2nd inning, he had more balls than strikes. High chopper charged by Bregman. That'll do it. No, Rangers strand a runner will take the stretch here with the Rangers trailing 4-0 to the Astros. And now please join us as public address announcer introduces God Bless America.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, on this special Military Appreciation Night here at Minute Maid Park, we kindly ask that you please rise and join us now as we pause, not only to honor our great nation, but to salute those who protect our freedom around the world each and every day. Please welcome Sergeant Charles Smith and join him for the singing of God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
Alex standing for the 7th inning stretch at the end of the last half inning. Had a little discussion about how many outs there were. Dallas Keuchel said, I better go cover third base. No, that's okay, that's the 3rd out. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, the funny thing is the rest of the guys were running off the field. When they saw Keuchel go cover third base, they all stopped and went back themselves. He fooled them too.
Jake Maristic leading off the Astros 7th inning. Maristic a single, a run scored, and a ground out. 1 out of 2 tonight. Perez gets the call on the pitch at the upper inside extreme of the strike zone. 0-2. Beltre has to do a 360. And the tag, and Maristic going by. Nice job by Ryan Arua to make that catch. And the tag. Well, 1 out before we go back to the top of the order for George Springer. We're going to send it back to Dana Larson for a Chevy game break. All right, Dana, thank you. And now A.J. Hinch is coming out of the Astros dugout. He wants them to take a look at this last play. He wants to issue a challenge. He didn't feel that the tag was made. We'll see if there's an angle that can support or turn down his challenge. Get the umpires getting the headsets on to get in touch with Replay Command Center back in New York. That's one of the angles. Here's another one. And that's what A.J. Hinch and company are basing their challenge on. Is that Ryan Arua? They're challenging that Ryan Arua didn't make the tag.
The fans think he missed him.
Yep. Again, the call on the field is out, so there has to be clear and convincing evidence to overturn that out call. And you've got Ted Barrett, the crew chief and third base umpire, along with Alan Porter, who made the call at first with the headsets on. Our board bringing you the Astros challenge tonight. And they're taking a pretty long look at it back in New York. You can understand why, having seen a couple of those angles. One more look at it from what will probably be the definitive angle.
It looked like he missed him, but you can't tell for, there's a point in time where you can't see where the glove is. I'm not sure if they can overturn it based on that. I guess they can.
Yep, they overturned it. Safe at first base. Jake Maristic is going to be aboard. It's going to be an error on Adrian Beltre on the throw. First error of the ball game for either team tonight. Adrian's 7th error of the year. So 1 on, nobody out. Now back to the top of the order. There's a base hit by Springer to left field. Maristic putting on the brakes at second. 2 on, nobody out. Alex Bregman now will come up. Springer ambushing that first breaking ball that he saw. And, Doug Brocail out to talk to the infield along with the battery. Elvis and Adrian Beltre there listening as Robinson Chirinos and Martin Perez talk to Brocail. Bregman, the hitter, 0 for 2 tonight with a walk. And you would think that with a 4-0 lead, A.J. Hinch would probably lean toward a sacrifice with the middle of the order coming up. We'll see how he plays this. Bregman struggling in his first go-around of the Major League level. Tony Barnett loosening in that Ranger bullpen. Both corners for the Rangers in the infield up expecting the bunt. No bunt from Bregman, and now he pops it up. A double play is going to be turned as Marisnick at second go too far off. He got caught in no man's land. And Martin Perez, a heady play to turn it into a 3-6 double or 1-6 double play.
That's one way to get 2 outs. Bregman with men on first and second, what he should be trying to do. I don't know if he was or not. Bunt it down the third baseline. Anywhere but to the pitcher.
2 away. Springer still at first base. Jose Altuve 1 out of 2 tonight. That RBI double in the third. He scored a run in that frame. Also had a walk. To right field, that ball is crushed. Chew back. It's off the wall. Wheeling around third base is Springer. He will score without a throw. And Altuve, with his second RBI double of the night, makes it a 5-0 Houston lead.
Talk about Altuve every time we play the Astros, what a great player he is. And we talked about him not being big in stature, but already this season, Altuve's hit 19 home runs. He almost had another one. And this is a pitch out over the plate, down and away. And the little guy almost bombs this into the bullpen out in right center field. Shows you the kind of power that he has. Hit off the wall for an RBI double. 65th RBI for Altuve.
A 5-0 Houston lead. Carlos Correa 1 for 2 with a 2-run single. Takes at the bottom of the strike zone, 0-1. The Astros now 5 runs on 8 hits tonight. 7 of the 8 hits have come in run-scoring innings. 5 in the third, 2 more here in the 7th. Back to the screen. That foul ball makes it 0-2. Martin Perez looked like he'd gotten himself in a pretty good shape with the double play, the bunt pop-up that he turned into a double play. But Jose Altuve had different ideas. Hard hit Beltre. Now he's just going to tag Altuve. No sense making the throw if you don't have to. And that'll do it. But the Astros add a run. They get a run on 2 hits, an error, and 1 man left. After 7, 5-0 Houston. Dallas Keuchel getting back together. He had a rocky first inning, a couple of hits. The double play helped him out. And since then, Rangers have been pounding the ball into the dirt. When they've made solid contact, it's been right at an infielder. Only 3 balls in the air for outs tonight. Keuchel with 6 strikeouts. He has been a master here against the Rangers this evening. Robinson Chirinos leading off in the 8th inning. He takes strike 1. Chirinos has walked and struck out. Robinson's walked in the 5th inning. The only time that Keuchel has put somebody on other than the strikeout wild pitch, putting Rougned Odor on in the 7th inning. Oh, 2. Try it again. Even when Keuchel makes mistakes, now he's pounded the bottom of the strike zone so well against the Rangers that one floats up there and he gets a foul tip out of it instead of a base hit somewhere. One ball, 2 strikes. Chirinos hitting at 190. 8 home runs, and they've all been on the road this year. To short.
Pretty typical for the game right there. Ground ball generally not hit off the barrel of the bat.
1 out. Delino DeShields coming up. Progressive would like to show you the Rangers' upcoming schedule. This is the first of 3 over the weekend here at Minute Maid Park in Houston. Finish up Sunday afternoon, then on to Colorado for a Monday night and Tuesday afternoon quick set against the Rockies. Rockies visit Globe Life Park on Wednesday and Thursday before the Tigers come in, followed by Oakland. That'll be the finish of the middle of the month of August. Delino takes ball 1 down and away. DeShields has grounded to short and struck out. Correa's been a busy man out there at short. 2 gone.
Have a broken record. Throw that sinker up there and hit the bad part of the bat. A gem for Keuchel.
That is 6 groundouts to Carlos Correa tonight, the shortstop. Now 2 up, 2 away. Now back to the top of the Ranger order. Shin-Soo Choo led the game off with a single to center field. It looked pretty promising. He was immediately erased on a double play. First one fouled away for strike 1. Into the shift. Now Tuve, the second baseman, has it. So again, 3 ground balls, 3 outs for Keuchel. He was at 101 pitches tonight, and the Rangers are gone in the 8th inning. 5-0 Astros. Bottom of the 8th coming up.
against Dallas Keuchel tonight for a Ranger team that finds itself in a 5-0 hole. We welcome you back to Minute Maid Park in Houston, Texas, and they will play game 2 of this series tomorrow night. It'll be the reigning American League Player of the Week, Mitch Moreland, back out onto the field tomorrow with his 5 home runs and 9 RBI in those last 9 games against Carlos Correa and the rest of the Astros. AT&T high-speed internet reminds me to remind you tomorrow night's game comes your way a little earlier. Note the early start time, 5:30 for Rangers Live. First pitch just after 6 o'clock tomorrow night from Houston, guys.
All right, John, thank you. As we head to the bottom of the 8th inning, Tony Barnett has come out of the Ranger bullpen to take over, the 32-year-old right-hander. 42nd appearance for Tony. He's 6-3. He's had a lot of decision coming out of that bullpen. A 2.08 ERA. League hitting just 238 against him. Last time we saw Tony was on Sunday at home. There's a drive off the bat of Gaddis to left field. It is off the wall and it gets by Delino DeShields. So Gaddis will move into second with a leadoff double.
Gaddis came into the game hitting only .220. He has some power. He 17 home runs. And tonight he's had 3 hits, a couple of singles and a double now. Took that ball off the end of the bat. Mentioned it's not very far to hit it out in left field, but because he hit it off the end of the bat, it didn't carry that much.
Well, Gaddis at second to start things off. He is 3 for 4 tonight. And Tyler White, who is 1 for 3 with an RBI, steps in. White with the RBI single in the 3rd inning. 1 ball and no strikes. White handling the DH chores tonight. He's driven in 22 this year. Shallow right center field. Chu and Desmond. Shin-Soo Choo makes the call on the catch. That is out number 1. It'll bring up Marwin Gonzalez. Folks, we'd like to remind you to follow Rangers Baseball live with MLB.com at bat. Stay up to the moment at any moment with Game Day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and a lot more. Download MLB.com at bat. It's the #1 app for live baseball on your phone or tablet. So with Gaddis still at second, 1 away, Marwin Gonzalez will step to the plate. He will turn around to bat from the left side against the right-hander Tony Barnett. Marwin Gonzalez 0 for 3, a couple of strikeouts, and a double play grounder against Martin Perez. Left-handers this year against Tony Barnett have hit at a 299 clip. Right-handers just a 189 clip. Pretty big disparity. 2-0. Barnett, though, amassing a pretty good streak of scoreless innings. 13 2/3 scoreless over his last 10 ball games. Drops that cutter in, and it is 2-1. Tony, who went to Japan for 6 years to refine his craft, worked out of the bullpen for the first time in Japan. Went over there as a starter and made that transition. Good breaking ball, pulled the string a bit. Had Gonzalez out in front, 2-2. Tony turned into one of the top closers the last couple of years in Japan. Marwin Gonzalez probably thought that ball just disappeared, going out there after it, and all of a sudden it was not there. Barnett coming back to the plate. Got him swinging. Good breaking ball down and in. Marwin Gonzalez now with a hat trick tonight. His third strikeout, 2 away. And Carlos Gomez will come up.
Well, one curveball was down and away. This one was down and in. But they both had the same result. Gonzalez has offered at a lot of pitches out of the strike zone tonight.
Carlos Gomez has grounded out, fouled out, and struck out. 0 for 3 this evening. Hitting at .213. First opportunity to face Barnett. Breaking ball comes in the front door. 0-1. Tony Barnett trying to keep this at a 5-run disadvantage for the Rangers. Give them the opportunity to come up in the 9th inning.
4 straight curveballs. One's a called strike, and 3 of them have been way out of the strike zone and all had swings at it. Must be a pretty deceptive pitch for Tony tonight.
Now the 0-2. Just able to get it off the end of the bat back to the screen. Tony Barnett, the Anchorage, Alaska native. Another pop foul. That one back over the Astros dugout. Robinson Chirinos have to have a little face-to-face with Tony Barnett. Tony, we talked about it, one of the few late inning relievers that really utilizes that 4-pitch repertoire that he has. Doesn't get settled in on 1 or 2 primary pitches. He'll go out there and use all 4 of his offerings to good effect, too. Tried that fastball away, and the count moves to 1-2. Now the right-hander checks second and comes back to the plate. Shin-Soo Choo meandering over to his right, kind of circling around out there, makes the catch, and that'll do it. So Barnett able to work around the leadoff double by Evan Gattis. He's left stranded. We're going to the 9th inning. Ian Desmond starting off. Rangers trail by 5. is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By AT&T high-speed internet. Get a deal worth talking about. Get high-speed internet from AT&T. And by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer today during the Ford Freedom Sales Event and see why Ford is the best in Texas. The crowd reacting as Dallas Keuchel made his way back out to the mound. He will pitch here in the 9th inning. Keuchel has not had a complete game this year. His last complete game a year ago, June, against the Yankees. He deals the first pitch into Ian Desmond for strike one. Desmond has grounded out twice, once into a double play and a line down. That pitch up and in. Check swing foul, 0-2. Keuchel just 2 hits, both of them in the first inning. A leadoff single by Shin-Soo Choo, a 2-out double by Carlos Beltran. 1-2. Desmond a .295 average. Facing Keuchel. He went around. Keuchel with his 7th strikeout of the night.
Oh, he's been tough tonight. He's pitching against a good lineup. And the Rangers, since Beltran's double, haven't hit many balls hard. Elvis hit a ball pretty well to right field. But for the most part, Keuchel's had 7 strikeouts and a lot of ground balls off the bad part of the bat. Well, Carlos Beltran, they've got long memories here. Beltran was a rent-a player back in 2004, came to the Astros. They must be upset that he didn't re-sign. He had one of the best postseasons you could imagine for the Astros back then. He went 20 for 46 and hit 8 home runs in the postseason in 2 playoff series. They ought to be cheering him for what he did for him back then. 8 home runs and 46 at-bats.
Pitch fouled away, and Keuchel, the advantage in the count, 0-2. Well, Astros didn't win it, so that's what they're upset about, and it was his fault.
He should have hit 15 home runs. He parlayed those 8 home runs in the postseason to a huge contract with the Mets in free agency.
Keuchel into the wind, the left-hander deals. Little cue shot down to Marwin Gonzalez. That is out number 2. Oh, last gasp for the Rangers. Adrian Beltre will come up. Career best for Dallas Keuchel as far as complete games, low hit games, a 4-hitter. Did that 3 times. He has only allowed 2 hits to the Rangers and bidding for a complete game shutout. Rangers have not been shut out by an individual this year. They have not thrown one. They have not been involved in one. And Beltre to the gap in left center. That is up the alley. It's going to the garage door. Adrian into second. And the Ranger offense continues as Beltre gets the first hit off Keuchel since the first inning.
One of the first hard hit balls, too. Both Choo and Beltran hit their base hits hard, the double and the single. Finally got a good pitch to hit, something in the middle of the plate.
Well, Beltre, they're in scoring position with 2 outs. Rougned Odor, who is struck out and twice grounded to first. 0 for 3 tonight. And a little tapper on the right side. Altuve and to Gonzalez, and that will do it. Dallas Keuchel, a 3-hit complete game shutout as the Astros fire the first shot across the bow in this series. A 5-0 whitewashing of the Texas Rangers. And Dallas Keuchel, outstanding tonight. Kept the ball on the ground, kept the Rangers off balance, and not much they could do with him this evening. As we mentioned before the ball game, it comes down to execution. He executed extremely well tonight, and he gets a complete game win. We will be back to Minute Maid with more right after this on Fox Sports Southwest.